If you have seen the other interview I did with Journey about Dized, you already know what this app has to offer to players. But I am very interested, because I'm interested in the industry, how is that going to help publishers, both big and small? So, Journey, what is going your business model? What is it going to be like when it refers to publishers and designers? How will they take advantage of this?
What we want to do with Dized is build the ultimate companion app that will be your go-to application in the future. If your life has anything to do with board games, you are using Dized. And this means that in order to build a big community, is also we need to have a critical mass, the amount of content. Now, if we try to make all of it on our own, we have an obvious bottleneck issue. We're never going to be able to produce. This industry produces so much more content than we would be ever able to do for this. So that's why we're building a toolset online that allows publishers, and it's $99 a year per developer. So that's all the money you need to pay to use these tools, build in the content, and publish it on Dized. Our business model is in the downloads, and the publisher or whoever publishes this content decides if it's going to be paid by themselves, in which case we offer the content for free, or if it has a price tag, in which case we do a revenue share with the publisher of the income of those downloads. So basically, if you're a publisher who can't afford buying all the content, you probably have time to create them yourselves. So you just log on to the tool sets, create your content, put a price tag on it, and the only thing you had to pay is $99 a year, and then you're actually making revenue from the sales of the app. Or if you can downloads of the content. And if you can pay for you're in a lucky position, you have a bit more revenue or profits, money to spend, you can hire a freelancer or us, or hire somebody in-house to create these tutorials for you. And then pay for the downloads yourself. So basically when people download it, we'll be invoicing some cents per download from the publisher. Or you do a hybrid model where, for example, every time somebody buys your game, they get a one-time use code in that game box that allows them to download the thing for free. And for those downloads, we'll be invoicing the publisher. And everything else, you borrowed the game from a friend, you bought a second-hand copy. In those cases, it could have a price tag on it. And this is also a way for the publisher to get revenue from second-hand sales, or somebody just borrowed the game. You can still make money on selling digital content, for example, the digital expansion for the game. The possibilities what we can do with Dized are pretty big.
Let's get a scenario that I am a freelance who is going to be developing apps for Dized and rules for Dized. And I have a company that approaches me and say, Paco, I want you to I have this game and I want you to do this for me. How do they get the account to actually put it in Dized? Do they do it through me, who's already got the subscription to the app? Or do they need a new account and pay the $99 as well? How does it work?
Well, first of all, we're still figuring out the details, how all that will work very smoothly. But we have a lot of examples out there already. For example, Unity, which we are using to build Dized as well, is one of these tools where you can hire developers doing stuff for you, and they publish it in your name on the, for example, App Store. And that's exactly how it will work in Dized as well. You can hire somebody, but you're the one. The content will be on your account, and you need to have an account anyway because you will be wanting to access, for example, the big data. Who's playing my games? When? Where? With whom? And this is very valuable when you're doing, for example, targeted advertising, which you can also do on Dized. This allows you to do that. For example, we have a Polish version of the game coming out. You probably want to tell people in Poland who play similar games that this game is coming out right now, and you'll most likely like it. That's exactly what we can do with the big data on Dized, and that's why you want to have your own. If you're a publisher, you want to have your own account on Dized because that allows then you to use these tools as well.
Is the application going to support multiple language for the same game rules, or do they need to publish different rule sets for each language?
It absolutely does support different languages. We already have, for example, these tables here in Spiel We have English and German on the tablets, and the customers just tell which language they prefer to use, and you just switch it from the app. And the app is already in 8 different languages, but then obviously the content goes case by case, how many translations have been done so far. For example, the Carcassonne demo we have here, it's done in 8 different languages with voiceovers. So how we built Dized is that it supports translations very easily. You only, for example, the tutorials that are 3D animated tutorials, they take a bit of work to build, but once you've done the bulk of the work, the translation is only you translate the text and upload a new voiceover for that language. That's all needed for the translation. And that's something we're also looking to crowdsource. The publisher could do, for example, English and German, but let's say, especially if it's, for example, a language-free game like King Domino that we have here, we could also open the translations to the public in a way that you can ask your playing audience to do translations, and you would only just review them, just make sure that it's kid-friendly, because I just make sure that it's all good, and then you can just publish it on the app and make your game available for yet another language localized audience.
Is it also going to support different alphabets and fonts? Because it's right to left text.
Yes. The short answer is yes. All the Arabic, Chinese out there, yes, it supports all that.
What level of technical expertise in terms of understanding both 2D and 3D? Because working with Unity is pretty huge and very, very comprehensive. What level of programming, 3D and 2D animation, do people need in order to be able to develop for Dized?
None. Okay. This is the beauty of Dized, and this is why this is actually why nobody has done this before. It's such a difficult, costly project to do. What we're creating is an online tool set that allows you to develop, create these tutorials and rule lookup tools, and down the line the new mechanics for your expansions for your games as well. And I don't know if you've built websites ever, but if you do it today, it's pretty much drag and drop kind of stuff. And that's how Dized will work as well. Even though it's 3D animated, when you think about board games, showing you how to do things is pretty much moving pieces from A to B. So how Dized will work, it will have a good amount of different templates. So when you start using it, you create your 3D assets, which is also drag and drop stuff, drop in your graphics, tell what shape object that graphic should be baked on, and you have your 3D elements, components for your game. From that point on, you just you do the tutorials like step by step, because the tutorials are steps. You create them one by one by selecting, I want to use that animation, and I want those 2 pieces to be on this animation. So, for example, it shows you the board and a piece that moves, move this piece from here to there. So it's very simple animations that we actually need to do for it, and that allows us to build simple drag and drop tools that developers like you could be, and you should be creating a tutorial once we get the tool set up.
And I probably will. In terms of the visuals, a lot of games these days, they produce an insane amount of insanely beautiful minis. Yeah. If those minis are available as 3D objects, will they be able to be imported so people can actually give that 3D beautiful miniatures to their tutorials?
Funny that you should ask, because when we, for example, Blood Rage was one of the first contracts that we did for Dized, and then we asked them for the assets so we can actually start working on them, do the 3D models, and also bring the minis in and do a low poly, because we need low poly model versions, because the high poly ones are very detailed, but they don't run so well on smart devices, so you need low poly models. And we asked for the 3D models for those minis, and it turned out they don't have them, because they are hand-carved minis. So we went and made them. So we actually now have high and low poly models for the Blood Rage minis. Even Seaman doesn't have them.
That is insane, because doing the 3D models for those things, that can have been easy or cheap.
Well, it was both, because luckily we have a very good network of all sorts of contractors, and we just happened to know somebody who has a rig for it and did the work for us. And it was actually, the price was very reasonable. And that's what we'll be doing for Rising Sun minis as well, because it's the same story there. But yeah, yes, you will be able to import the ready-to-go materials into the app, and then just similar to if you know Tabletopia, It's very similar. Actually, it's exactly the same. You just create the 3D models in Tabletopia. You just create the starting position for the game. In Dized, you create just drag and drop animations for the tutorial steps that teach players how to play that game.
Technical support. I get stuck. I get stuck with something, and I cannot continue, and I don't know how to do it. How are you going to support people like that?
Well, exactly what you said, technical support. Well, like I said, I think it was in the previous interview, but we're 16 people full-time right now, and we already have one person working full-time on support, which is Anu over right behind you. And we'll always have that available. And the thing is, we are using these tools ourselves as well, because you can do it yourself, or you can hire a freelancer, or you can hire us. But we'll be using the same tool set than everybody else. So obviously we're going to have a good understanding how the tools work, but also we're in the position to give you customer support. So absolutely yes. And part of that is also, let's say you did your content on Dized, you want to publish it. And before that happens, we need to review what you did, because we can't just go and publish anything on it. We want to make sure that it's kid-friendly, unless you have some sort of game that isn't, but that's another story. Kid-friendly, and the material is premium, so it looks good, it sounds good, it's something we want to put on Dized. And also, for example, we want to make sure that your 3D models, for example, are compatible with majority of smart devices. Because maybe you had a beautiful tutorial, but you use the same 3D models that you sent to the print house when they did those actual minis out of them. And we might be looking at everything else is good, but those miniatures should be low poly models. So we would ask you to change them to lower poly models, give you a poly count, like use this sort of poly count for them, that should be good. Even give you a suggestion where you can actually find the service that does it for you if you don't want to do it yourself. So we'll definitely be helping you how to create that content in a way that it will be the kind of content that we want to be online on Dized. Because every time somebody uses a Dized tutorial, we need to make sure that it does the best damn job it can.
Which is fair enough. Last question. In terms of scalability and upgradability, if I make my tutorials two questions. I'll ask you another one later. If I do my tutorials, but the rules change for version 2.0 of the game, how easy is it to just update, and will everyone who has already received or purchased the instructions get an email or a warning saying, hey, there is an upgrade version of this?
Absolutely. This is one of the beautiful things we can actually do with Dized, and which is much easier to do with an app than a tutorial video or a rulebook, updating the content. Because, for example, the tutorial, you might realize later on, you created a tutorial and you realize, actually, I should have thought that rule a bit differently. You can always go back in, log in, do changes, upgrades for your tutorial. And this is exactly true for the rule lookup tool. Tutorial teaches you how to play the game, the thing you should ideally only use once ever. Then you know the game, but the rule lookup tool is the one that answers your questions. And if, for example, players ask questions, hey, I have these two cards, which one should I play, or which one, two cards were played. They counter eliminate each other. Which card is actually played first, or are they played at the same time? So you can ask those specific rule questions on it. So if somebody doesn't find a question, they can click a button, hey, I didn't get a question to my answer. You as a publisher get a notification, and only the publisher. This is not Wikipedia where everybody can just go, we already have those forums online and we know how efficient they are. Not really. So these are publisher updated. So you can go, answer the question, publish it on the app, and your FAQ and the rule lookup tool just gets better and better over time, serving more and more players.
One last question. In terms of time, the average game, say Blood Rage, how long should it take to develop the tutorials?
My goal on average, and I'd say Blood Rage would be on average, or I'd say that's pretty much the average sort of game that we're looking at right now. My goal is to get it to down to 1 month for one person, so 150 hours. It might sound like a lot, but this includes you learning the game, learning the game and breaking it down in a way that you understand what is the best way to teach this particular game, because every game is different. So you do that, you do your script for the tutorial, this is how I want to teach this, and then you go and create the tutorial, you play test the shit out of it, and when you know that this is now this works, then you go in and you do the 3D assets and the animations for it, you get the voiceovers for it, so and play test it a bit more, do the rule lookup tool and the FAQ. So it's a lot of work, and that's why it takes approximately 150 hours when the tools are up. Right now, for example, the King Domino tutorial took our 4-person team 3 weeks to make. So if you count that in individual man hours, it would have been 3 months of work. I would like to point out one thing. We talked a lot about the publisher aspect here, but when I said in the beginning that we want to create an ultimate companion app, it means that we want to get retailers and board game cafes, distributors, reviewers, all sorts of industry operators in this, because everybody can use localized targeted advertising. Anybody can use, for example, retailers and board game cafes, being able to have a demo person basically on call for any game. Customer wants to play a game, you don't know it, or your demo guy is sick, just put dice on the table, look around, you know it works, and I can show you the feedback, it works beautifully. So having that available in a board game cafe, just give them a game, console is on the table, have fun. So this is really something that serves everybody, and that's what we want to keep in mind when we build Dized, that this really benefits this industry, from players to all the industry operators. We know that this industry will keep growing, we just want to make it growing a lot faster.
Which is fair enough, and this should help a great deal. I will be talking to you about this a lot more between now and August. So people, if you have any questions, or if there's anything else that you would like to know about it, please leave a message in or comment in the video, because I'm going to be in very close touch with this person, and I will find out for you like that, or even closer. So Judith, thank you very much. Congratulations on the app. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic. I look forward to hearing a great deal more.
Thank you.